各位觀眾大家好，歡迎收睇26分鐘見證實錄精華回顧。柏金遜症目前係全球增長率最快嘅神經系統疾病，主要影響到患者嘅運動神經系統，患病率喺過去25年增加咗1倍。而喺加國就有超過10萬人患有柏金遜症，每年更加係有大約6000宗嘅新確診個案。喺今集嘅節目裏面，我哋就會同大家深入了解柏金遜症呢一個病。首先會同大家認識一位同柏金遜病奮鬥咗30年嘅患者，聽聽佢嘅抗病經歷。對現年73歲嘅陳寶珊 Viola Chan 嚟講，要完成呢一幅畫作一啲都唔容易，一筆一畫都比一般人吃力，因為佢患有柏金遜病，影響到佢嘅活動能力。而佢已經同呢一個病奮鬥咗30年。
I was diagnosed with Parkinson in 1993. I was at the top of my career. I worried first. I have not enough time to enjoy my life. And it really changed the way I look at life and changed my priority of life. The greatest fear is that I have no control of my body.
Viola 出生於香港，年輕嘅時候活躍好動。70年代畢業於香港大學數學及統計學系。1981年移民加國。之後佢亦都積極參加本地事務，又加入咗本地專門鍛鍊公眾演講嘅 Toastmaster Club 講藝會。亦認識咗好多本地嘅華裔社區朋友，但係喺44歲嗰時就被診斷出患有柏金遜症。
完全唔信啊！因為我唔信我自己有柏金遜，但係個醫生就話我有啲行路唔正常，即係拖腳啊，一直拖，咁我就唔信啦。咁咪帶俾我去睇個腦科醫生，咁然後話。好啦，你去照 CT scan 啦。如果你冇腦瘤嘅時候，你就係柏金遜。咁我莫名其妙啦，點解會咁啫？咁你叫我即刻食柏金遜藥。咁我翻到屋企諗下唔對路，點可能會係咁啫
？Viola 話：最初被確診之後感到震驚，甚至拒絕接受呢一個現實。經過幾個月之後，佢再去睇其他醫生，但係診斷結果都係一樣。
我有個朋友買本書，由 Page One 睇下做咩，就話俾我聽柏金遜病有咩嘢，好清楚話俾我聽。但係嗰陣時係好初期嘅，所以唔係好細緻一啲嘢。
雖然目前喺醫學上未能夠確切知道導致 Viola 患上柏金遜症嘅成因。但係 Viola 就表示，有可能係同佢大學快畢業嘅嗰一年一次交通意外傷及腦部有關。
21歲嘅時候，佢話香港雙層巴士第一次喺中環嗰個緊急轉彎嗰度咧翻車，去追個單車，咁我坐樓上，咁就啲玻璃喺我面度。割開我隻眼添。
喺接受咗自己患有柏金遜症之後 ，Viola 開始整理往後抗病嘅生活同治療安排。佢首先返到香港生活咗1年左右，希望自己生活鍛鍊獨立性。
但我問自己，我有冇自己獨立生活過？我冇。一大學畢業咧就結婚生仔，完全冇一個人獨立過，所以我就決定返香港做咗1年嘢。一個人住，等我可以過到一個係獨立嘅生活。
佢後來返到加國繼續工作同接受藥物治療。Viola 做過電腦程式、系統分析、計劃管理方面嘅工作，以及任職電訊公司等等。直到2010年，身體狀況令佢唔能夠再工作，需要退休。
就好可惜，我就即係得咗個病，我就唔可以繼續喺個 project 做嘢。失咗好多機會，因為最高峰嘅時候，咁我又要退落嚟啦。但我冇放棄啊！咁到我真係要退休嘅時候，真係要 long term 嘅時候咧，我就開始諗， 我究竟有啲咩興趣我想學嘅咧？咁所以我開始畫畫，同埋做啲 acrylic painting， 咁啊開始織冷衫。就算而家30年啦，30乘365再乘24小時，再乘60分鐘，你話幾多分鐘啊？因為每一分鐘都會變噶嘛。而家我好啲啫，但係未必好晒，因為佢仲可以喐到，啲話淨喐唔到啊，所以會變噶。所以我一定要克服自己啊！每日要去對住個電視嚟睇做運動。如果唔係咧，就身體開始僵爛啦。你最緊要唔好俾個身體僵爛，真係僵爛就好慘啊！你都見過啦，好辛苦啊！咁我哋就好啦，組織咗一個旅行團去行山，禮拜六。
當時我哋一班朋友咧就知道佢有呢個病，又要好多運動嘅時候咧，咁我哋就組織咗一班朋友，每逢禮拜六朝早咧就陪佢去行2個鐘，然之後就一齊去食晏。嗰陣時佢好叻㗎，因為佢方向感好好啊，佢知道去邊度，入到去嗰啲trail 裏邊咧，咁我哋冇晒方向咧，佢可以話俾我哋聽向左向右，向邊條路行。啊，幾好天今日嚇
！Linda Fung 馮潔冰係 Fiona 多年嘅朋友，佢話一班朋友得悉 Fiona 患病之後，都希望陪伴以及支持佢走呢一條抗病路。咁除咗陪佢行山做運動 ，Linda 亦經常陪伴 Fiona 聽音樂會。咁而熱愛旅遊嘅 Fiona，就算患病之後行動不便，仍然堅持外遊去旅行。
佢係一個永不言敗嘅人，乜都唔肯放棄嘅。只要佢發覺佢要做嘅嘢，佢就要去做㗎啦。咁就係大家都好佩服佢咯。有時都好戥佢擔心嘅。尤其是有一次落大雪啦，佢係都要去街，佢要去探仔仔。咁喺個雪喺嗰個路邊咧，就壞咗嗰個輪椅。佢打一個關鬥，個輪椅撞斷佢條頸。
嗰一次意外發生喺2018年，之後 Fiona 嘅身體狀況更加變差，但係佢仍然正面面對。
我哋對佢又愛又恨啦，又好欣賞佢，好錫佢，但係又好
自己唔理自己。
點解唔肯認輸嘅咁？但係偏偏係佢呢個唔認輸嘅性格，先至維持到佢今日。我覺得咧係佢個positive， 佢個正面對人生嘅正面嘅睇法咯。佢同埋對於個疾病，雖然佢係接受，但係佢冇抗拒咯。咁同埋身邊呢個朋友同埋家人嘅照顧嘅 support， 我諗係好緊要咯。
慕虛係 Fiona 嘅兒子，佢話知道母親被診斷患有柏金遜症嘅時候，正值佢大學時期。咁當時 Fiona 並冇同兒子分享太多自己嘅病況。
She's a very stubborn person, but very determined and very selfless. I think, that makes her try to deal with it on her own. It's been many years. Difficult journey.
阿毛話：作為柏金遜病人嘅家屬，佢經常會指責自己做得不足，尤其係佢母親堅毅不屈嘅性格，令佢好多時候既佩服，但又會感到愛莫能助。
A lot of times I don't feel I do enough, and I probably don't. I do my best. A lot of the other challenges are her own personality, because she still insists on doing things regardless if she could or not. She doesn't think about it as much. Over time, she pushes it and she admits it to a point. 佢自己話都係搏命做，因為佢冇乜時間。
阿毛又分享話，柏金遜病人除咗要面對身體上嘅挑戰，精神健康方面亦都會有好大嘅掙扎。同時，家屬嘅精神健康亦同樣需要重視。咁所以建議喺有需要嘅時候，一定要尋求幫助。
The biggest part of Parkinson's, I think, is the mental battle. Because your person is there, but your body is no longer listening to you. And the more the disease progresses, the less mobile you are, the more reliant on others to do things. It's frustrating. I think my biggest one would be get help. You need a support group because it's not easy.
咁我都有啦，即係我有 anxiety 會 depress， 咁啊少食藥。咁但係到嗰陣時候咧，你就要自己同自己講，你一定要克服，因為如果你自己唔克服咧，係冇人幫到你嘅。所以慢慢咧，慢慢捱啦，捱過咗又一日啦。所以我就希望大家盡量努力啦。
We're starting a movement. The Parkinson's Movement.
喺患病之後 ，Viola 致力參與提升公眾對柏金遜病關注嘅活動。佢亦都擔任過5年柏金遜會嘅主席，參加過13年該會嘅籌款步行活動。佢希望以自己嘅經歷去鼓勵其他病人積極面對人生。
真係好開心，同埋我係幫助，即係希望啲人知道咧，有咁嘅會，如果有病咧就唔需要收埋，應該出嚟咧就同大家討論同埋講下，因為你收埋咧係真係自己痛苦嘅，所以我唔怕嘅，我唔怕講俾人聽我有柏金遜，因為有時候咧你唔講咧，啲人以為你做乜嘢添，係好痛苦嘅。但係你喺痛苦之中咧，你一定要揾到啲快樂嗰邊，即係令到你滿足嘅。你唔可以睇佢衰嗰邊，你令到滿足就係話你能夠做到啦。你喺個狀況你都做到啦，即係你已經行咗一步。你唔可以話我做唔到就做唔到。所以我每次都係咁嘅，所以我成日跌親啊，就因為我成日都 O 都要執嘢。所以我好希望大家知道，就千祈咧就唔好放棄。
對好多柏金遜症患者嚟講啊，係要面對一場健康方面嘅長期抗戰。咁家人嘅支持同朋友嘅鼓勵啦，非常重要。同樣社區嘅支援啦，亦都能夠為患者同家人帶嚟莫大嘅幫助。咁下一節翻嚟就會同大家認識卑詩省目前對於呢一個病方面嘅醫學研究發展以及支援工作。翻嚟節目時間，社區之中嘅柏金遜症支援組織啊，一直以嚟都致力提高公眾對於呢一個病嘅關注。咁而醫學界咧，亦都希望透過研究加深對柏金遜症嘅了解。咁現時卑詩省喺呢方面嘅工作進展得如何呢？柏金遜症係僅次於阿茲海默症嘅第2大常見神經退化疾病。到咗2040年，全球柏金遜症嘅病發率預計將會增加1倍。常見嘅運動症狀包括顫抖、運動緩慢、肌肉僵硬同平衡受損。咁樣係由於腦部產生多巴胺嘅細胞死亡。其他症狀通常包括疲勞、語言同寫作困難、睡眠障礙、認知改變等等。
Well, the majority of people that get diagnosed with Parkinson's disease will be age 60 plus, but there are about 10 to 20% now of people that are under the age of 50. So it's we call that a young onset. However, most of the time when people get diagnosed, they've probably had the disease for 8 to 10 years prior to that.
Jean Blake 係卑詩柏金遜會行政總裁。自1969年成立以嚟，該會喺省內提供有關柏金遜病嘅支援服務。
We run a full range of programs online. We have exercise programs. Dance, yoga, Pilates. We also run activities. We know that people also, if they can engage and keep active socially, that there are real benefits to that. Every time you're feeling good, your brain releases just a little bit of dopamine. We also run a full range of educational programs, learning more about the disease, any new advances, different things that people can do to improve their own quality of life. And we do run, now that COVID is easing off, are going back to running some in-person conferences and educational sessions as well. We also have clinical counseling.
Courtney Doherty 係卑斯帕金遜會嘅註冊臨床輔導員，主要負責精神健康方面嘅輔導工作。
Oftentimes, in the past, it was thought of as mostly a physical ailment, so mostly, a tremor or rigidity, stiffness. But if there's so much more to it than that, I always say, so the primary mental health challenges that people tend to face that we know of are depression and anxiety, as well as apathy, which is kind of like a lack of motivation.
佢表示，唔少人甚至患者自己有時候對柏金遜症都缺乏了解。
I think some people think like, oh, when we're diagnosed with something like Parkinson's, a disease, of course we're depressed because, we have a disease and so on and so forth. That can be an element of it. However, it is a little bit more complex than that in terms of the chemistry in the brain.
Jean Blake 亦都認同公眾對於柏金遜症呢一個疾病仍然存在好多誤解，咁所以卑斯柏金遜會喺今年4月嘅柏金遜症關注月，主題就係要釋除公眾對於呢一個病嘅誤解。
We're addressing the stigma issue and wanting to have people be quite aware of more of the symptoms and signs of this disease, that the person is suffering from an illness and is not because they have a voice and gait impairment, either drunk or if their face is frozen and they're unable to smile and convey emotion, that they're not staring. And if they're unable to move and are unable to stare, that they're not loitering and leering. They're trying to get control of their body.
除此之外，卑斯柏金遜會亦重點做倡導工作，目的係要爭取更多柏金遜病嘅醫療及研究資源。
BC is often one of the last provinces to approve therapies. We've been waiting for a very long time now to get a second neurosurgeon in place for deep brain stimulation. Obviously, we hope that there will be a cure in research, but in the meantime, we fund close to $500,000 of research proposals every year.
呢一座位於卑斯大學嘅 The Java Moafe 嘅人腦部健康中心內，集合唔同腦科範疇嘅基礎科學同臨床護理。該中心由100多名具有跨學科專業知識嘅研究人員組成。Dr. Silky Appel-Cresswell 教授就係其中之一，佢係運動障礙神經科醫生，專門做柏金遜病方面嘅研究。
And so we're studying the role of the gut microbiome and how that connects to, of course, Parkinson's disease itself, how it connects to different symptoms of Parkinson's. So, for example, we've got trials, clinical trials looking at the use of probiotic to treat anxiety in Parkinson's. We'll start one, you're looking at the use of probiotics treating depression in Parkinson's disease. We're going to look at diet and the microbiome in Parkinson's disease. So, for example, ketogenic Mediterranean diets. So there's a lot happening there.
好似呢一日，實驗室人員就正在處理採集到嘅樣本進行呢方面嘅研究。
So those samples that Shinima is processing right now were taken this morning from participants in our microbiome study. And there are swabs with which the inside of the mouth was swabbed, and therefore you get the microbiome. So they're now being processed. They're going to be snipped off and go into a little vial. They're being frozen at -80 degrees. And then in the meantime, as we just saw, the blood samples are spinning down in the centrifuge. And there'll be fecal samples coming in as well for the microbiome. So we collect several samples at the same time. And there's also clinical assessment that goes with that. And these are all now 4- and 5-year follow-up.
除此之外，中心內嘅博士後研究員亦都做緊唔同針對柏金遜病嘅研究項目。
Participant is connected to the stimulator, so we give very low intensity electrical current and to see if that has any effects on the brain activity and then ultimately the motor vigor. And the reason we're interested in investigating this is that motor vigor is impaired in people with Parkinson's disease. So if we find some like beneficial effects from this experiment, then we can have that store in that portable stimulator, and then people with Parkinson's disease, they can ultimately try the stimulation at home and then see if it improves their motor function.
亦有研究去測試利用電腦程式，為日後用於診斷同病情評估方面。
So every time I tap, this program will detect the speed and how fast I move my fingers, how small the movement of fingers are, to help with how severe their Parkinson's disease is. But in this case, we use computer-based, like automatically assessing the movement, which would for sure help with clinicians.
The hope is that we can get snapshots at home as well. And so people can eventually, when this is all developed, can do this on their own computer, and this can then be sent to the clinicians.
So it's an instrument that's unique in Canada.
腦科大樓內亦都設有一部先進嘅磁力共振儀器，專門用於研究嘅工作。Creswell 教授表示，喺柏金遜病嘅研究領域上，卑斯省處於非常領先嘅地位。而醫學界近年亦都有好多突破性嘅發現。
There are probably numerous factors at play. So we talk about this interaction between environmental factors and the genetics factors. And in most cases, about 90%, it is a combination of both these factors. Maybe 10% we now know there's a specific gene that drives the development of Parkinson's disease. So it was in the 90s that the first gene was discovered. And then a lot of research went into this. Several more genes were discovered. And now we're testing medications that target those genetic changes and the proteins that are affected by these genetic changes in the cell with targeted medications. And now we're having treatments in clinical trials that target these specific changes. And so I think the most important insight actually in recent years is that there isn't just one Parkinson's disease.
Creswell 教授嘅研究專長仲包括採用跨學科方法，通過生活模式去治療同預防柏金遜病。佢所創立嘅卑斯腦部健康計劃，會為病人提供定期嘅運動課程。
So the idea is that we know now that exercise, nutrition, in all likelihood, sleep, stress all have an impact on Parkinson's disease, and they have an impact both on the likelihood of getting Parkinson's disease in the first place, on when you get it, whether you get this at an older age or a younger age, and then when you have Parkinson's, if you do develop Parkinson's, these interventions have an impact on how quickly things progress, very likely. We don't have conclusive evidence for this yet, but it's the best candidate, I would say, we have right now to slow disease progression down. And it certainly has a huge impact on quality of life, on function, on mood, on cognition, on how you move. And most recent studies, actually, and that was very exciting, that came out in August, September last year, have actually shown that there's a strong correlation between people who exercise and who eat well, to eat a healthy, mostly plant-based Mediterranean-type diet, and their survival with Parkinson's disease. You know, if you divide this particular study, which had an enormous amount of people involved, into quarters, the people in the top quarter had about 2/3 lower mortality rate over the course of the study. 2/3, that's unheard of. We don't have anything, we have no medication that cures, reverses, delays the condition. So a 65% reduced mortality rate is enormous.
Bruce Thompson 係呢一項運動計劃嘅參加者之一。
I've been involved about a year and a half, and it's been wonderful. It has the program, the exercise you do has very, very good effects on your body and allows you to feel stronger. You seem to forget less of how to do things, and it's part of an overall strategy to make life a bit easier, even though it's a very hard thing to do.
雖然目前仍然未有完全根治柏金遜病嘅方法，病人要走過柏金遜之路困難重重，但係社區、醫護及研究員都共同努力，希望為病人帶嚟曙光。
I'm very optimistic. I think we've done a lot of work. Even I've been in the field of neurology for about 25 years now, and I've certainly seen an enormous change over that time. And I think there's also much more awareness. So we have to be patient, but it's a very exciting time. There's a lot of stuff happening.
好啦，今集嘅節目時間就差唔多啦。咁如果觀眾對我哋嘅節目有啲乜嘢意見嘅話，係好歡迎大家以電郵嘅方式同我哋聯絡㗎。如果觀眾想重溫翻今集嘅節目，亦都可以上到去我哋嘅網站，點擊節目重溫一覽。下星期同樣時間再同大家見面，晚安。